All right, what's up, guys? It's Josh and Nathan of the Card Guyz bringing you coverage of week 2 of the FAB Team League Team Cup. This is our match between our team, the Card Guyz, versus Team Invaders. Currently, spoiler alert, we are up 1-0. But here's game 2. On the left, we have none other than Alex Sneed playing Iyslander. His opponent, Theodore Andrew from the Invaders, playing Briar. This is a team from Indonesia, so they were actually very, very friendly and setting up all the times. This 13-14 hour difference between Jakarta and the US, Jakarta and Atlanta. FAB's a global game though, so it's really interesting to get to play against people from all around the world. And you can, there's even little things that we kind of picked up in the last game, like when you block in the US, sometimes you put your card on top of their card, but it seems like in Indonesia, they really like to put their card on top of your card, at least on TTS, right? So that's kind of a cool little thing. All right. Looks like Alex has opted to go first. I think he won the dice roll.
I believe so.
All right, so pretty standard equipment suite from him. And on the Briar side, would you say this is fairly standard as well for this matchup?
I would say no. I would say that typically Briar players are going to be on one of two plans. They are going. Number one, Tunic is always correct. I don't care what plane you're on. You should have Tunic.
Rosetta is too easy. Yeah.
It's not really Rosetta. It's the fact that as long as you have a Tunic counter, it negates Coronet Peak. Right. So as long as you have that counter floating, they can only use Coronet Peak while they have a channel like Frigid out, which is a valuable asset. Now, there's an argument to be made. Do you run Crown of Seeds? Do you run AB2 Snaps? Do you run AB3? That, I think, is still up in the air, and I think it's dictated by how quickly you want to play. I think so it's kind of conflicting, right? He's running Snaps, which is like, all right, I'm going to push, but then he's running AB3.
Right.
Which is very conflicting to that strategy. So I think if you were going to run Snaps, you would just run I would do Tunic, AB2, and Snaps.
Yep.
And that way you could still block a little bit of damage if you get stuck in a rough spot, but you can keep on that pressure.
Yep. I really think AB1 or AB2 is the correct play against Iyslander, unless you're a very, very defensive deck. AB3 doesn't really solve any of your problems. Whereas AB3 is very, very important against Kano, but against Iyslander, I think especially in this case with the Coronet Peak, having Tunic, I think if there's any chance to run Coronet Peak, you need to be running Tunic.
Right.
I think that's just too important. Even if you're not going to use the Tunic that much, still really important. You guys also might notice that the game is being played a little bit quicker. We are currently on 1.5 speed because this game, speaking of the time zones and everything, the Briar player played this at work. So he was like alt-tabbing when his boss walked by type of thing, So there's no comms between our players, right? So they're both just having to point at things, ping at things, and take things very slow, especially considering there's a wizard in the matchup. The stats get very, very complicated. Right?
You got passing priority. So basically, the system that they will later, they'll tap or ping the little arrow. However, it takes a couple minutes for both of them to get on the same page about how they want to pass priority.
Yep. So in this case, if I was in Alex's position, I would actually import a chess piece and move it back and forth if I'm or as priority, basically.
Right.
Sonata hitting 1. Twine Lightning. Sure. Take it. 1 arcane damage. I know you said you don't really like Sonata in Briar, but if you were playing Sonata, is this a matchup that you would be playing it in?
Yes, because it's one of the few. So this match all comes down to mainly how much value Iyslander can get out of one Frostbite.
Mm-hmm.
And Sonata is one of those cards that if you play it, basically they can't respond to it, right? Because they don't know what you're gonna rip, right? And if you have a full hand, like it doesn't make any sense to go ahead and shoot your load, you know, and get just them have a blue in hand, right? Because nobody's ever going to pay 2 into the Sonata against Iyslander. That doesn't make that doesn't ever make sense really, unless you have a hand full blue and you need an attack. So I think it's it's a very good card because it's a non-attack that you can play that will not get a response of Iyslander most of the time. Whereas if you play a Nimblism, it's like, okay, I'm gonna give you a Frostbite now, so that way when you play your attack, I'm going to tax you, and I know you're not getting anything from that card.
Yep. Sink Below from the Iyslander player. That's kind of what I predicted because we saw Alex pitch a Sink Below. And Sink Below is one of the more valuable cards in this matchup, especially when you don't have tempo. Sink Below is one of those cards that you can use to get tempo.
Well, this is about as good as a turn you can get out the gate. Double fuse on the Entwine Lightning with the Lightning Press, and then he very well could just jam it or pitch it to swing Rosetta. I mean, he's got options here, so.
Yep. And of note, the Briar player has tempo, and since this was a Sink Below and not a disruptive element, this is not going to be a turn where. Interesting. I guess the card in hand is better than Lightning Press.
It basically comes down to if that's like an attack that has go again from Arsenal, like maybe a Lightning Surge, or it definitely wouldn't be a Scar. That would make a lot of sense because you're gonna definitely have the life lead. But anything that like is an attack or a Bramble, that makes sense too. I don't hate it because chances of you ripping a blue off the top because you had no blues in your hand are pretty good. Yeah. Speaking of Scars.
Right. Yep. Scar for Scar coming in here for 4. A staple of the Iyslander archetype nowadays. Like Briar's just going to take this, go down to 36. Struggling with the life counter a little bit. There we go. Making it bigger. Good job. That's how to do it. That's how to do it. And then tip for you guys, you can press L to lock it, right? So you don't misclick it, right?
Yeah. The one weird thing about this matchup is you have the embodiment mechanic, which is almost a negative because it gives a response opportunity to Iyslander before your turn actually begins. But more importantly, like most of your in your average Briar deck, you typically have anywhere between like 12 and 15 blue non-attacks.
Yep. So
you're boosting the defense of your blues that you don't want to physically block with because that's how you're pushing through Frostbites and and everything else. So it's it's a very weird dynamic on like how that mechanic's supposed to work.
I wanted to ask if is this a matchup where you prioritize 5-card hands? Because it feels like CLF, Hypothermia, even Blizzard can like shut your whole turn down. Is it better to play small ball as Briar?
Basically, what you're trying to do, it depends. I mean, you have multiple ways that Briar play. Like there's my way that I'm working on to approach this matchup that is completely different than anything I've seen.
Right.
However, typically what you're going to do is find pockets like this, right? And City's Chill is out. We know there's no more disruption here, so we're just gonna push absolute most damage we possibly can, which is
gonna be
10
4
damage
here, right?
Right. Well, it'd be 10.
He's gonna Arsenal card, right? Almost certainly, right?
Uh,
Yeah, you're pushing
sure.
10, but he's going to block 6 here.
Maybe, or he could wounded
be a
bull
wounded-
back.
Yeah, it could be a 2-card 8.
But typically, if you're the Iyslander player, you want this match to go as long as possible.
Yep.
If you are the Briar player, you obviously want to go as fast as possible because of cards like Insidious Chill. Which typically Insidious Chill is a very conflicting card. Typically, it's the responsibility of the Iyslander player to gauge the play priority of the Briar player and basically pick up on, like, okay, is this Briar player being defensive at all, pitching into his AB? Okay, he is. Let me play this Insidious Chill. That's why I find it very interesting that Alex has played the Insidious Chill when I don't think the Briar player has pitched once into AB, indicating that it's going to be a quicker game.
Yep.
So typically that is a negative EV play to play out that Insidious Chill in these quicker games. I mean, he's already half health basically.
Yep.
So it really just depends. And then this is also very scary for Iyslander. If being
Not
off of an
having
arsenal, right? If there's any way that Briar can play a Channel Mount Heroic here, he basically wins the game because he could just jam it out, present 21 damage or 18, and then that's it.
Now, you say that, but doesn't the Iyslander player always have that emergency button with the Storm Striders?
Yes, so you do. The problem is that if you popped Storm Striders right here, you open up the possibility of literally getting fatigued. Because what a lot of people forget, especially because Alex has already thrown 4 or 5 red threats, whether blocked with or attacked here. So if you pop Storm Striders, and when you have Storm Striders, right, or don't have Storm Striders, the whole Frost Hex combo,
Eternal, yep.
Yeah, it's just not a thing, right? So you really, it really, especially when the Briar player has AB3, it can get very scary very quick because you're operating. It's not like Briar's just going to not do anything. She's going to throw a 0 for 4 at you and then block with everything in hand. You have to be very careful of that. So it is a no shit button, but at the same time, it's pretty scary.
Okay. So looks like this Entwined Lightning has been fused, and I guess he's deciding. So even if you have a blue here, you still don't. I guess you still have a turn if you have a blue.
Yeah, it just depends. I mean, that's the beauty of Lightning Press, and why I hate Hypothermia so much is, Lightning Press plays around Blizzard because you can be like, okay, I don't have to go again on this attack, but let me go and invest all my damage into this attack via Lightning Press. But because Hypothermia can be resolved at the resolution step, which is after on hit, so therefore there's no point of pumping it at that point.
Yep.
It would just be wasting a card, and that's the real power in Hypothermia, is actually not the card itself, but when you can actually play it.
Right. All right, another 2-card hand here from Alex. Probably another attack here.
I would say Cornet Peak. Yeah, he's got to get an arsenal. And like I said, because the opponent doesn't have Tunic, that gets a card. So, depending on the situation, it may or may not be worth it. But it's
Erased
a way.
Face. Well, that doesn't seem like a good card in this matchup, right?
So you have to look at the damage cycle of Iyslander. 9 times out of 10, what's going to happen is they're going to play something from Arsenal and then pitch for Waning Moon. Okay, that leaves 3 cards in hand. Okay,
right.
So when you erase face, what it does is it basically says you cannot Wounded Bull me and play your Arsenal. They have to say, okay, I'm not going to play my Arsenal, and I'm going to block with 2 cards, then Wounded Bull you. But then I can't move my Arsenal. But if he's already moved his Arsenal and you erase face,
why can't you Wounded Bull?
because you would only have, you would have to block, or I'm sorry, you can't wounded, you can't ice feint is what I meant to say.
Okay.
You can't ice feint is what I meant to say, which in this matchup is way more impactful than a wounded bull. Yes. I think Michael Hamilton actually sides his wounded bulls out in this matchup because in this matchup, if you don't have the timely disruption, it can punish very, very hard.
Yep. So from Briar's perspective, you're kind of just waiting for that one turn where they don't have a disruption or they don't have a lot of disruption, and then go.
Yep.
That's very similar to how I approach this matchup as Raiden Bolton. I mean, I have to get a big V with the helm of the Sharp Eye on a turn where they don't have a lot of disruption. I guess it's similar here. If the Briar player can get a big turn when there's low disruption, like this is a pretty low disruption turn. This is just a single Frostbite, right? No chance of Insidious Chill going off here.
Right. This is exactly what you're looking for. Basically, just, you know, the only thing you're worried about here is a blizzard, and that's literally it. And there's nothing else. And another thing in deck building for Briar in this matchup specifically, it's very tempting to just throw a whole bunch of blues in. But the problem that you're going to run into is you're not threatening enough damage when you do that. And so, like, the average Briar deck runs 15 to 18 blues in an average matchup, and then usually they'll side up to like 19 or 20. If you're higher than 19 or 20, you're going to run into a lot of problems where you're just not threatening enough relevant damage.
Right.
I mean, sure, the frostbites don't affect you, but you're at the same time, you're not pushing that damage that you really need to be doing.
This play pattern from Iyslander is something that you really need to think about how you approach carefully. Because if you keep playing, you know, 2 cards for 2 cards, 2 cards for 2 cards, this style is designed to outvalue you. And
right, I mean, because you can't,
even though the life total is equal here, actually the Iyslander player is ahead, right?
Oh, way ahead. Way ahead.
Yeah. So, you know, oh, cold snap here. This is probably one that he has to pay for. Yep, looks like he is.
And not only that, but notice that Alex is at 11 life here with 3 Insidious Chill triggers.
Yep.
Which is, you know, another thing. Like, typically, like,
very, very ahead. Yep.
Yeah, typically, well, not just that, but like, I doubt he's going to get 3 triggers out of it. Exactly. So, like, Amulet of Ice is usually way more than enough, unless the Briar player dictates the speed by pitching a lot into the AB. Then you kind of have to lean on the Insidious Chills.
Full hand gonna get popped here. Looks like it is. So give him 2 rune chance here.
Yep. 9 times out of 10, that means he has a Swarming Gloom Veil in hand, and that's like our only. That's our emergency go again generation.
Yep. Because it's possible you don't actually get the embodiment of Earth.
Okay, I think that guarantees that there's going to be a Snapdragon here.
Yep, unless there's a Razor. Have you used a Razor in Briar before? Or is that just,
I have, but it's terrible. Don't do it.
Okay.
Don't do it. We don't like cards that cost 1.
Yep.
Unless you're on the Blittle variety, but like, it's so important. Like, Razor takes a spot of a non-attack, which ineffectively is preventing you from getting go again via that method anyway. So it's kind of like counterintuitive. Blizzard's pretty good here. For those of you who don't know, Exude Confidence does prevent instances and D-reacts from being played. However, there's a response window before the card resolves. Which is what Alex is taking advantage of here by playing the Blizzard before blocking with an attack or a card that has attack higher.
Generally, you would want to Blizzard after they Snapdragon, but you cannot do that in this case.
Yeah, but I mean, it was apparent enough what the play was going to be.
Yep.
So it was pretty safe to. Your other option would be to just go ahead and block with like a wounded bull or a fighting spirit, and you could also get away with doing it that way.
Right. In general, you don't want to do that, right? Because you don't want to ever block with your wounded bull. You want to play them generally.
Yeah, fighting spirit's okay because it technically blocks for 3 if you if you're under, but like wounded bull blocking with that's terrible.
Yep, exactly.
So here it looks like Alex is definitely gonna like block with his last card or cornet peak. Either one is perfectly fine.
Yep.
Assuming he hasn't mooned. He has mooned, right? Yeah. No, he hasn't mooned, so he could moon here.
Yep. Can he? The brothers unarmed. Doesn't Exude say you have to be greater than or equal? Never mind. Oh, he can. Okay. E-strike here.
Yeah, he could also just moon at the.
Would you draw a card here, or would you go for 7 here?
I think you're in a losing position, so I think you just have to draw a card and
hope it's good.
Yeah, hope it's good.
Yep.
But yeah, I like in this situation, yeah. Once the combat chain closes, because Exude says for the combat chain, not the entire turn. So once he passes priority, Alex could then waning moon if he wanted to, but it's obviously not worth giving up the arsenal.
Yep.
So basically, Alex has to ice fuse here with something.
That was a very, very poor turn cycle from Briar. Lost the Vexing Quill hand, lost the Snapdragons, lost the Arsenal, and did 4 damage.
He did get all cards, and he didn't really take any damage either. So it was okay at best. It was not not where you want to be. And see, this is just really weird because, like, the snatch doesn't have go again, so it's not that threatening. Alex just blocked with a cornet peak.
Yep. Waning Moon gonna be blocked here.
Yeah, and
no Arsenal again.
If he has an Ice Vein here, he probably just like lets it hit and call it a day, and then just because you're losing a card, but you're gonna get a card. You're gonna get 2 cards on the Ice Vein from Insidious Chill and the effect on the actual Ice Vein. So I wouldn't be crazy to.
Is it very rare for Briar to run Oasis?
Yes.
Okay, so we're probably not gonna see it.
Yeah, we like free cards. We don't like paying for cards.
Okay. So Aether Ice Vein is basically guaranteed to get 2 cards here if he has it.
100%. I'm not saying nobody plays it. I'm just saying I've never seen one that did very well that ran it.
Right.
Hopefully I can change that, though. I'm experimenting with it.
There you go. You think he's debating whether to take 4 or take 2 with the cornet peak, or is he debating to like block everything here?
Yeah, I think because you're not really giving him a card here, so I get
it's going to 3 is like a little risky, right? So
no, not at all. I think you're in full control.
I mean, with Storm Striders, you're fine, but
that's assuming he has an Ice Vein that he can fuse. If he has an Ice Vein, he can fuse, or anything really he can fuse. He just goes to 3, gets most of the hand from Insidious and Ice Vein trigger, and then calls it a day.
Yep. Looks like that card was good enough to Arsenal. I guess with Tome of Harvest in your deck, any card is good enough to Arsenal, right?
That's kind of a gambler's mentality for sure because you don't know how long it's gonna be there because you not only have to draw like Tome of Harvest, you have to draw the blue to go along with it. So it's like
I think from the Briar's perspective, you're also behind, so it's like you got a yellow a little bit.
Yeah,
right? So,
yeah, and there is a card. There's a card called Channel the Bleak Expense, which prevents you from drawing cards. And
Ooh.
if they play that in response, you lose the game.
Oh no.
I don't think it's played in Iyslander really, but it's
for 2 yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, Force of Nature going to block for 4 here. Going to 7, a little bit risky here. Does he want to throw another card here? Okay, Snatch only blocking for 2 here. Picks 1, goes to 9.
Yep, and unfortunately, me being a Briar player, I just know that there's no way out of this position, and you've basically lost because you had to block. You're only going to be able to present. You know, what's the best hand here? Nimblism into a 4 attack. Like that's
gonna get responded to all day long.
Right, and like so, like E-Strike for 7 is actually the best thing if he doesn't make a Frostbite here, but he probably is. So like, there's not
blue plus Erase Face, I guess, is the best thing here.
Sure, and that's just gonna be a 2-card block, and you're right back in the same situation.
Yep. Ice Eternal here. Looks like he's gonna dump 3 into it. So Insidious Chill Trigger is gonna go on the stack. 3 Frostbite's gonna go on the stack. And yeah, the Briar player is probably dead here, or at least going to lose his whole turn here.
Yeah, because you can definitely Alex could have used the tunic counter because you know he's gonna pitch for like Waning Moon more than likely, right?
Yep.
And there's a chance that if you do put everything into it, there's a chance that you might have to there's just nothing you can do because there's going to be 3 Frostbites, and so there's literally nothing you can do. So yeah,
AB2 taking 1 damage there. No Frost Hexes. Still going to lose his whole turn though, so that's kind of unfortunate.
And Alex has the choice of he can Cornet Peak on his turn or Waning Moon here. And I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. I think either one is fine. And basically we're going to be back in the same situation. The only difference is, if he can fuse any card here, whether it be with Storm Striders or not, it's going to strip more cards, and that'll be it.
Yep. At least there wasn't a Embodiment of Earth to respond to here.
Right. I think the best thing the Briar player can do is probably like throw a Sonata out and kind of like put Alex in a situation to where he has to do something, and it's not like, because like Sonata, there's no information, right? Because he hasn't pitched to pay for a Frostbite. He don't know what he's getting off the top. So it's like, okay, Alex kind of has to go here kind of situation. Yep. Okay. So, there's Sonata. And so now Alex has to be like, okay, do I unload now and get his hand, which is probably pretty decent. So he's just got to run the math here and see if he can do it. So if he has an Ice Vein, for example, he can play that, whether it's from hand with Storm Striders or not, and he can fuse it with Chill, which will get 2 cards out of his hand, and then only leave 1, and then Waning Moon plus whatever's in Arsenal. So more than likely, probably, it's even
Aether Hail here. Yep. So if he doesn't AB this, the kill range actually gets pretty large. Because any tall damage spell in hand with Storm Striders will kill him.
And actually, if Alex's plan is to pop Storm Striders and fuse an Ice Vein here, I think you should have done that first to get the cards ahead of time, so that way he can't pitch into the AB.
Yep, I agree with that.
But it just depends on what Alex's game plan is here. but getting the Insidious Chill and not allowing your opponent to pitch into AB is definitely better.
Yep. 2 red cards getting pitched here for AB, indicating that he has no blues, no yellows. So he's going to be relying heavily on the Sonata to fuel his turn, if he still has a turn. Looks like Alex is going to respond before the Sonata resolves, because with 1 card in hand, 5 damage will kill him. Or several sources of damage will kill him. Ice Eternal here. Fused with CLF. Ripping the last card here before the Frostbites and Arcane damage is generated.
It's important to note that the
extra damage.
Yeah, the Aether Hail that produced the Frostbite via Iyslander effect is also seen by the Ice Eternal. So it'll make 1 itself, then it will Metacarpus node, then it'll see the existing one. So this is for 3.
Yep. Well played. Exactly till here.
Yep.
All right. Well played from Alex. I think the game is over, but the players are just kind of getting there. Yeah, like we said before, like they're on opposite sides of the world, no comms, playing at work, alt tabbing when the boss shows up. All right, looks like we got there. All right, and with that, the Card Guyz take a 2-0 lead in week 2 of the FAB Team Cup. All right, let's move on to the next one.